Welcome to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owners Association, where real estate investors have found success since 1968. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group. This episode is sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com. Hello and welcome to episode 530. Welcome, everyone, to this panel called Hindsight 2020, What We Would Do Differently in Our Toughest Deals. Every investor has at least one deal they wish they could redo. Some taught valuable lessons, others just left a scar. Today, our panelists are opening up about their toughest deals, their biggest mistakes, and what they would do differently if they had the chance. You'll hear real stories, hard-won insights, and we'll have a little fun along the way. So this is your chance to learn from experience, the kind you don't want to earn the hard way. Let's get started. I'm going to introduce our panel here, starting with Ramond Harris. So I once had the privilege of spending the day with Ramond, driving through the streets of Detroit, and no one knows those neighborhoods better than Ramond. He is an entrepreneur, a real estate investor, and founder of Harris Family Contracting. Ramond is a proud Inkster native, and he spent over a decade flipping properties across Metro Detroit with a focus on quality, community, and smart design. Ramond combines business know-how with a heart for revitalizing neighborhoods, and he always brings a family-first mindset to the work he does. And if you listen to the podcast, for the past, 4 or 5 years, we've always recorded a podcast interview with Ramond right here during the conference. Brooke Veltkamp, am I saying your last name right, Brooke? Brooke Veltkamp is our next panelist. And Brooke is an investor with hands-on presence in Newaygo County. Brooke's experience spans fix and flips, single-family rentals, and small commercial properties, giving her a well-rounded view of what it takes to succeed in different market segments. She brings a practical, community-focused approach to every project, and we are excited to hear the lessons she's learned along the way. Thanks for being here, Brooke. And David Hall is our next panelist. David is from Lansing, Michigan. He's an accomplished investor, broker, and coach with over 15 years of experience and hundreds of real estate deals to his name. He owns and manages more than 100 income-producing units across single-family, multifamily, commercial, and mobile home parks. Through his brokerage, podcast, and coaching programs, David helps others achieve the American dream by teaching them how to find, finance, and profit from real estate, all while building long-term wealth. Thank you for being here, David. Okay, so David, why don't we start with you? And you can just, if you don't mind, just kind of walk us through one of your toughest deals and where it was, what kind of property it was, and why it was so difficult.
Yeah, so we're still learning lessons from this deal as we haven't gotten out of it completely. But it's a package of 10 units that we found off market. Our acquisitions manager found it for us. He was just coming on board, and we were kind of letting him run the show a little bit. And this deal came to us. It was listed. It expired, which kind of means it was on the market. No one else wanted it, but we saw opportunities. So we talked to the seller, and we were able to get some creative financing terms, and that's what kind of excited me about the deal is if we bought one, it was a package of 5 addresses, which was a total of 10 units. If we bought one of the addresses outright, they'd give us the other 4 for 0 down, and they cash flowed currently. So I said 4, 0 down free properties that cash flow, that sounds like a great deal, So we did the deal and got into it. And the first time I actually saw these properties, we already owned them. And that's kind of a mistake number one, So we had the properties, they're cash flowing, but as some of the tenants moved out, which is typical anytime you buy, a package of properties. But we started to get the complaints coming in from the tenants saying the previous owner didn't fix things, and there's deferred maintenance, and there's other issues. So even though the terms were good and it cash flowed on paper, once we got into it, we had to put so much money into these deals that they are now, the 0 down aspect is gone, because the money didn't go towards the down payment. It ended up going towards all the repairs. And so my numbers on paper for the cash flow based on, an infinite return, because I didn't put anything into them, ended up kind of flip-flopping, and I had to put way more into them than expected. So we still have them. They still do cash flow, but now our money's tied up, and we're exploring different options to probably just list them and get our money back and move on.
Yeah, if you had actually gone through the traditional route and put money down, would you be in a better situation now?
So they'd cash flow more, but our return on investment would probably be less. So I think our return on investment is still probably better the way that we did it. But the having to unexpectedly come up with large CapEx repairs right in the first couple months when we could have prevented it by doing a little bit better due diligence was the biggest lesson I learned.
Yeah, so what kind of due diligence would you have done if you could go back and do that due diligence?
Yeah, probably talk to the tenants a little bit more. If there's any deferred maintenance, they might have been able to tell us. Maybe do more thorough inspections. Oftentimes when you're wholesaling or buying off-market deals, there's not a lot of inspection contingencies put into the contracts. Typically you can move faster, and with off-market deals, you move faster because you don't put in inspection contingencies and you get lower prices that way, but you also open yourself up to more risk.
Yeah. So have you done any more zero down deals?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a handful in the past, and they worked out. Some of them worked out great, and this one was just a package that we probably should have dug into a little bit more on the front end.
Okay. And then just for our podcast listeners, what is zero down? What does that even mean?
Oh yeah, so zero down is the seller in this circumstance. The seller gave us a 5-year land contract with zero money out of pocket, no down payment. So slightly higher interest rate. I think we're at 9% on those, but it's amortized over 30 years, but with zero down payment. So essentially, you show up to closing, you sign the papers, you don't have to put any money into the property to purchase it, and then you get to keep the cash flow after that.
Yeah. So it's a great way to get into a property without having to come out of pocket for any money, but you then have the expenses of operating that property and keeping it fixed up.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, thanks for that. We'll come back around, and I'm sure you've got another story for us. But Brooke, let's go to you. Now, you're an investor primarily in the Newaygo County area?
Yes, yep, I live up there. How's that? Should I lean in?
Oh, yeah, lean
Everyone
into the microphone there. So why don't you fill us in on like one of your toughest deals, where it was, what it was, and why it was so difficult?
Sure, absolutely. So like Brian was saying, we invest about 40 minutes north of here in Newaygo County. One of my scariest deals I ever bought was a single-family home. I had found a home where there was a tree tipped over in the lawn, and no one seemed to be cleaning it up as I kept driving by over and over. So I checked on the property. There were unpaid property taxes. I called the local municipality and asked about it and described the house, and they said, oh, we thought you'd be calling on the other house that needs work in town. And I said, oh, tell me more about that. What's the address? So they gave me the address. I drove past a house with boarded up windows everywhere. I sent the owner a letter down in Georgia. I saw that house. I drove straight to the post office. I bought an envelope. I bought a sheet of paper and a stamp, and I wrote a letter to him. 2 days later, he called me and said, I would love to sell that house. I live down in Georgia, and I know it's in bad shape. So I ran the numbers on it. It was kind of hard to calculate the renovation because it was my probably biggest undertaking at the time. So I offered him, I was like, I'm so sorry to offer you this, but I have to offer you $25,000, which again, it's in Bailey, Michigan, so it's only 40 minutes from Grand Rapids. So similar housing prices, just kind of out in a more rural area. So I paid $25,000 for a house, and I thought, well, at this point, what can go wrong? Like, I've already adjusted for anything going wrong, right? Well, it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, about 1,100 square feet house, and we projected to resell it about $170,000 to $190,000. I think my budget was $100,000 renovation. I was so wrong. We ended up having to redo almost everything but the framing and the well and septic. We had to go redo roof, siding. Like I said, all the windows were broken. There was glass everywhere. The previous occupant had smashed the glass with baseball bats intentionally. So we had to go a major cleanup. The lawn was super overgrown with like maybe 3 or 4 foot tall weeds, and then we couldn't mow it right away because it was just full of garbage. So I personally went through with a weed whip, and I weed whipped maybe like a few feet and picked up trash. A few more feet, picked up trash. I mean, we had to just like eat our way through this whole property with a bite at a time. It ended up, we had several delays with contractors, several delays with just the amount of work the house needed. I ended up paying for extension fees on my loan, extra holding costs, extensions on the porta-john. I mean, we had to pay for utilities an extra few months. I thought this would be maybe a 6 or 8 month project. It was 10 months. But we ended up, I really attribute the success to this on luck because the neighborhood went up in value in that year. that from the time I had seen the house to the time I had sold the house, like seen it, placed an offer, acquired it, did the work, and sold it, the neighborhood had gone up in value. So we ended up turning the house into a 3-bed, 2-bath because there was an extra den that had egress. So we converted that to a bedroom. And then there was a huge laundry room where it was a waste of space. We converted that into an extra bathroom. So we ended up turning a house that was a 2-1, 1,100 square feet into a 3-2, about 1,400 square feet, and ended up selling it for $285,000. So I netted $80,000 on it, and I really say luck. I don't even say it's like it was anything to do with the market or anything we did intentionally. But yeah, when I bought a house for $25,000, I was like, what can go wrong? Everything went wrong.
How did you come up with that 25,000 number in the first place?
Oh, sure, yeah. So we just did the 70% rule. So we found the ARV about $170,000 to $190,000.
So wait, just for our listeners, ARV is what? Like, explain that a little bit
That's
more.
the after repair value. So that's the projected resale after renovation. So we found that number of what would we sell it after the work is done when the house is retail ready. And then we want it to be all in at 70% of that number. And then we subtracted the renovation cost, which was at the time about $100,000. And that's how I arrived at offering $25,000.
So you made money on this deal.
I made money. It was all luck.
What if you could go back and do it again? What would you do differently?
I wouldn't. I would still buy it.
But would you do anything differently, or would you just?
No, I still do crazy things like that every day. I still buy houses like that every day. At this point, though, I kind of bet on the houses selling more than we planned. Mm-hmm. It's a growing area. I go to all Paul Isley's presentations on the economics of this area, and I just say, the area that we invest in is a tertiary market to Grand Rapids. It's a healthy economy, and there's still a shortage of houses. So I still do risky things all the time. Don't tell my lenders.
Are you using traditional lenders or hard money, private money? What do you use?
Sure. So I use private money and hard money lenders. Some of them might be in this room. I don't know if I've seen anyone yet, but they're very local. I met most of them at meetups like this.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Brooke. Ramond, tell us about I know you've done many, many deals. Tell us about one of your toughest ones and why it was so tough and where it was located and what you do differently.
All right, let's go. All right, Ramond Harris. Thank you again, Brian, for inviting us out. Great testaments to the business here from our counterparts. But real quick, so taking you to the east side of Detroit, 2018. So we get a call from a guy from California. I send out a lot of mailers and we do door hangers and stuff like that. So he got one of our things. Somebody got it to him. So he calls us. He's like, hey, I got this property, but it has fire damage. I'm willing to pretty much give it away. So we all right, well, that sounds good. All right. What do you want for it? He's like, 10 grand. So I'm like, all right, 3-bedroom, brick house, 10 grand. All right, let's figure it out. All right. So ARV, to her point, was probably 120 at this time. So again, this 2018, boom. So we buy this fire damage house. We're going through the process with the city of Detroit. They coming out and inspecting as we're redoing the framing on the second floor. And one day I get to the house and there's demolition, there's diggers in front of the house and they got the front yard dug up. So in 2018, they were doing a lot of demolitions in Detroit. So your house could be on a demolition list and you don't really even know it. So we pull up, they had already took out our water line. It was about to go down, the house was about to get tore down. So I pull up and I'm like, wait, whoa, so I'm freaking out. They show me a deed right now. And I'm like, hold on, give me a minute, you know what I'm saying? Diggers is there, so it was crazy. So I'm like, all right, boom. So we get past that hump, bam, almost demolished. So then we start rehabbing. So they're like, all right, you guys need to speed up on the rehab. So now it's probably end of 2019, getting closer to COVID time, boom. So we put windows in the house. So the guy across the street is known as they call them scrappers. I don't know if y'all know that term, but they scrap, they go around the neighborhood. If people throw stuff away, they take it to the scrap yard, boom, boom, boom. So this dude's yard is crazy, and he's directly across the street. So we go over there, we put the windows in, leave, come back a few days later, windows gone. So we all right, so it was 19 windows, every single window gone. So we all right, what's going on? So we going around the neighborhood. My contractor's calling me, and they Ray, I know somebody around here got these windows. We was just here. So I'm all right. So they got, carry concealed weapons, they have those, and They go to old boy across the street and they like, hey man, like we need to look in your backyard because he got all of this stuff. So you can't really see in the backyard. Lo and behold, windows was in the backyard, all 19 of them. Oh, I bought them from a guy around the corner. Bro, they are windows. What are we talking about? They're right across the street. So boom. So we had to go through that, got the windows back. Now I go out of town. Now we into passing COVID. We probably like summer of COVID. So it's like, all right, lockdown. We put more windows in the house. I'm in Disney World with the kids. Get a call from the contractors. Windows gone again. Oh my goodness. All 19 again. This time we don't get the windows back. So now we gotta put the windows back in. So every time when the winter comes in Detroit, it's probably 4 months where right around Christmas time, so probably October to February, where it get real cold in the city. And if you got a furnace in your house, from the chimney stack, you're gonna see smoke coming out. Well, if your house is vacant in the city, they're gonna steal your furnace. So we probably got 6 furnaces stole there. Now you would ask, well, why wouldn't you switch to propane and heat the house like that while the workers are there? We did all of that, yeah. If you left the propane things there, they were stealing those too. We were using Simply Safe back then. So if remember Simply Safe, you had to have the internet and all of that stuff. So they was cutting the wires to the electrical meter in the back so that the power would go out. It was so much stuff that was happening so that they could get in. We drilling doors shut, we doing everything. This is the craziest, hardest house to contain that I've ever dealt with. So we continuing going through. We finally get the house done. So it's like 2022, get the house done. To her point, values went up. So now my 120 house is now worth like 180, 190. So I'm like, all right, boom. We still not making no money because we took too many losses. So we get to the day before closing. The buyer normally does an inspection day before closing. Goes in day before closing, all the appliances is gone. Furnace, hot water tank, vanities. They cut out all of the plumbing, and it was PEX. They cut out all the plumbing to get the little fasteners. Took everything day before closing, so it was just a nightmare. But we got it closed, had to buy all the stuff again, and we didn't make no money, but we sold the house. So that would be my worst flip, I would say.
So was it the guy across the street each time? Or
I think it was always the guy across the street, but
He just hid the windows better.
That's it. It was harder to prove. He knew we were coming. So yeah, it was pretty rough. Then it was the next door neighbor to the right. We had found a hot water tank at their house before. It kind of got crazy where it was kind of just all the people around us was stealing. It was like, it was crazy. That was
a neighborhood of scrappers.
Yes. There you go. Good way to
Interesting block parties.
Yes.
So what would you do differently? I mean, you know all these neighborhoods. You've done so many houses. Like,
so
how do you prevent
I
that
try
from
to stay off the east side now, even though I got 3 houses. I got 3 houses over there right now. I've been getting my butt kicked, but you just try to stay from over there. But sometimes the deals just they kind of good over there. So.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Green Property Management. Not only do they manage everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area, they also manage my entire portfolio. So I can tell you from personal experience that their unique flat fee management style is worth a closer look. If you feel that your property isn't operating to its fullest potential, then Green Property Management can help you take a holistic approach that will save you money, eliminate your headaches, and increase your net income. And if you're a property manager interested in applying Green Property Management's model, give them a call at 1-866-95-GREEN or visit them on the web at greenpropertymgt.com.
If you're thinking of leaving your W-2 job and becoming a full-time real estate investor, one of the greatest costs you must consider is healthcare for you and your family. When I made this transition myself, I found the whole healthcare insurance process to be confusing and frustrating. That's why I'm glad I met Chad Creasy at RCB and Associates. Chad is a professional health insurance agent who helps real estate investors and small business owners understand and choose their best healthcare options. And best of all, his services are covered by the insurance company and won't cost you a dime. If you live in Michigan and are expecting a change in your healthcare insurance coverage for any reason, or losing employer coverage or transitioning into Medicare, then you owe it to yourself to contact Chad Creasy at rcbAssociatesLLC.com. Have you found some good deals?
Yeah, right now. So I just bought a 3-pack of houses for $100,000. My ARV is probably $349 for my 3-pack. I'm into the first one. I'm probably 80% done, but I've been broken into probably 4 times. They take the furnaces. They took the security doors It's 48224 if you want to know the zip code. we'll go ahead and shout out the zip code. 48224 that's the zip code. It's Morningside, so it sounds nice, but it ain't. And then you have the other side of 48224, which is like, it borders like Grosse Pointe, like, so it's a great area, like 3 blocks that way. So it's all of it is a tricky area pretty much. Like, it's beautiful, but it get crazy over there, so.
Now, I seem to remember when I was with you and Todd, that it was you or Todd who hires like someone who doesn't have a home.
Yes.
To live in the house while you're fixing it so that they can kind of keep an eye on things.
Yeah, so as you get to a certain point in the renovation, once we start getting probably, like I say, about 80, 90%, you put a sitter, we call them house sitters. So house sitters, they sit in the house, they probably $85 a week, something like that. They normally people who are staying with somebody or, they don't have their own housing because, of course, they wouldn't take that low of a number if they had their own housing. But they're normally somebody, we got a lot of people that work for us, do labor type guys who just be needing a place to stay, who got heat, or in the summer they got air. So it's like, all right, well.
And as long as they keep that heat.
Yes, that's it. Keep
windows.
They can be there at night, yes. There's rules to this, you know what I'm saying? But as long as they follow the rules, it normally goes pretty smooth. So that's how you got to get out of houses at this point now, yeah. Awesome. You got to put a sitter in.
Well, thanks, Ray. Thanks. Let's go back around, and I know each of you have another story. So, David, why don't you tell us about your next property that, in hindsight, you would have done differently or just not bought at all?
Yeah, so this was a duplex that came from a wholesaler, off market, multiple offers on the property, and so I kind of felt that pressure to maybe bid more than I should have. But we bought it for $75,000, and it had a brand new roof on it, and we crunched the numbers, and it seemed to meet all of our minimum metrics that we have for a flip. So we were going to buy it, fix it, and sell it, and then typically if we renovate something and list it for sale and it doesn't sell, we can always rent it and then refinance it and keep it. So that's kind of the way things go for us. So this one, we got into it. The renovations were going to be a little bit on the high side, but it still made money. I ended up buying the house exactly next door. So it's all right. Now we have multiple renovations, so we get some economies of scale and things. So as things were going, I think the city came through and said, "Hey, it looks like that roof was done without a permit." I said, "No problem. We'll come and inspect it. It's brand new." They get up there and the shingles were laid sideways, like the wrong way, And so from the ground, I looked up, saw new shingles, and assumed new shingles is a good thing. In this case, new shingles was a bad thing. They had put new shingles over, I think, 3 or 4 layers of other shingles, and they had put them done very amateurly. So the city made us tear the whole thing off, and so instead of making money at the end of the day, that was the only flip I've ever broke even on. And we could have kept it and rented it and let time kind of erode my mistakes and made money that way. But I sold it as a package with the house that we were flipping next door to the same investor who bought it kind of as a 3-unit package. So it made sense. And the funny thing is, I thought that we had made money until my bookkeeper, we dug into the numbers, and we were way over budget. I didn't realize it until we had sold it, and I think we made like $100.
Wow. So you just barely broke even.
Yeah.
So what would you do differently? I mean, I think inspecting the roof, is that something you do now on all your properties?
So when you see a new roof, you think like, I don't need to inspect it because it's new. But I mean, we could have pulled permits, or looked at the permits a little bit better to make sure that there was a permit on it if it was a new roof. So it just comes back to due diligence. It's a 2.5-story house, so I didn't feel like climbing up there to inspect it, But had I done so, I could have saved, $20,000. So I think I still don't climb up on the roof, but maybe I should. But yeah, probably just more due diligence.
Yeah. Or some people just use drones. Just fly a drone up there.
Yeah, I could have seen that everything was sideways.
Yeah, you would have got a good bird's eye view. And then what about cost control? I mean, you thought you had a bigger profit, but then once you dug into it, I mean, have you changed your processes for costing?
Yeah, I always say I'm kind of overly optimistic when it comes to analyzing some of the deals. I walk through it, and then also if you're in a bidding war, it kind of makes you feel like you have to, like maybe my competitor's seen something I don't see, and I should go a little higher to get it. So just a combination of things. So yeah, since then, I'm more conservative on the renovation budget. I get a second set of eyes on the renovations now before we purchase something. So that way, if there's something I missed, there's strength in numbers. So yeah, we're doing more due diligence, putting in more, miscellaneous factors on the budget. So that way, if we do go over, we kind of build that into the budget. So we're smarter moving forward.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Brooke, what's another property that you wish you hadn't done, or maybe you made a lot of money off of it, but you still wish you hadn't done it?
I still don't have any I wish I had done. But I would say, I had bought a rental on Oak Street a few years ago, and it appraised for $185,000. And so I had already like owned it, stabilized it, renovated, rented it, rinse and repeat, right? So I owned that house. About 3 doors down, there was a house with boarded up windows, weeds in the lawn. I drove past it every day, and I never saw any activity. It was clearly unoccupied. So I had sent a letter to the owner, and he lived a few hours away. This was a month after I had just signed for that $25,000 house. So this fella, he wrote me a letter back instead of just calling my number. So I'm checking the snail mail, not expecting anything. And he says, hey, I'm gonna be in town this weekend and I'll sell that house to you for $30,000. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm used to paying like $100,000 for these houses. So I just got one for $25,000. Now I have this one, he's just voluntarily just picks a number and says 30. I didn't even have to negotiate down. I was like, I'll take it. When do you wanna meet? I met him there. I brought a purchase agreement with me. We filled it out on I think it was 2 sawhorses and a board. And we're just signing this purchase agreement. And I was trying to not act excited. I was like, oh yeah, just you initial here. And I was like, $30,000. $30,000, it's crazy. I'm like, I'm gonna be rich. I was like, I just got this other one for $25,000. And at the time, we hadn't started working on the $25,000 house yet, so I didn't know. But yeah, I was like, 30 grand. I was like, so again, I calculated renovation to be about $100,000 on this one. So I was gonna be all in at 130. And I was hoping it would appraise for 185-ish. And then I would rent it, refinance it, and then rinse and repeat. And so I was so wrong. We ended up having to go redo the entire house. These houses are kind of out in the country, so they're on well and septic. There hadn't been utilities turned on in this house in so many years that I couldn't even test the well or septic, so I just gambled on that. And the septic ended up being okay, and then I had to put in a new well, which I think I budgeted $5,000. It was $9,000. So, and then we ended up having to go put in all new windows, a new roof, and then the county, we had to pull permits on this one, which I'm in no man's land, by the way, so we don't really have to pull permits very often. And so they just don't require us, if we're gonna go swap out cabinets and paint houses, they don't require much. But this time we did. I didn't have a builder's license, so I had to find a builder, which is pretty difficult because I guess a lot of builders don't want to just pull permits if they're not gonna come complete the work and see it through. But I found someone who would. I paid him an hourly consultation fee, and he handled our permits for us. We ended up having to re-blueprint the entire house because the previous owner had framed it in just how he felt like it. It wasn't bearing, the layout didn't make any sense. It was only a 900 square foot house, so he had 2 hallways, which is a waste of space in a house that small. You try to have your doorways to bedrooms just kind of from a common area instead of a hallway. So we had to reframe in the entire house. The county had us it was a block house, so they had us do treated 2x6s, framing in anything touching the block, the exterior walls. And then we had to just come in with way higher R-value insulation than we had planned. We ended up having to redo that entire house, everything except, like I said, everything except the foundation, the walls, and the septic, and the land it sits on. So I went way over budget. I had to do several months extensions. Again, that's just several more months of holding costs that I didn't budget for. So I had to pay maybe 4 more months of porta-johns, the gas, the electric, paying labor the whole time, insurance, property taxes, and then higher payments to my lender in order to get the extension, way beyond what we had planned. So I ended up going extremely over budget. I ended up being all in on that house. Again, I had planned on being all in around $130,000. I was all in around $170,000. And then again, it was supposed to appraise $185,000. I got super lucky. We squeaked out an extra high appraisal of $235,000. And I ended up getting almost all my personal money back out of it. So I almost kind of broke even. And then that one is still a rental to this day. It cash flows a little bit, but still a really nice house. I don't expect hardly any maintenance for the next 10 or 15 years because everything's brand new. And then so again, that one was only 3 doors down from my other house on Oak Street. So we had to call it Oak Street 2.0. And I didn't learn from my mistakes because I'm under contract to buy 3.0 this next week. So yeah, I would say, a lot of my jobs they go well because of luck. They really do.
Good numbers.
So given everything you went through on 2.0, would you still have paid $30,000 for it?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, well, I wouldn't have paid more. I definitely wouldn't have paid more, but I never would have thought I would have got it for 30.
Yeah, so 30 was still a good deal.
30, it ended up being okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Ramon, you got another one that?
I got one. So, all right, and it's a recent one too. So we bought a house from a flipper. So that's a problem. So if a flipper is selling you their house, that means they couldn't finish it. They ran out of money. Something happened. And so it's a problem already. So we buy it. It looked good. We like, all right, well, he put there's new windows in here. He did new plumbing. It's all new HVAC in the basement. All right, we should be good, right? Nah. So the new HVAC in the basement only went in the basement. He didn't run no ductwork up the walls, and the walls were closed. So that was a problem. He pretty much had to open everything back up. Terrible. The plumbing, this was a problem that was on my team, and yes, we didn't. The water meter was broke in the basement. So in Detroit, you could just call some guys and they come turn the water on at the street, and you could work past that because it take like 45 to 90 days for the water department to come out and put a meter in at your house. So if you call and say, hey, the water meter is broke or it's leaking or whatever the case may be, they'll say, no problem, we'll see you in 90 days. So it's like, all right, I need water in between there. Well, my team decided, we'll just wait till they come to turn water on. So we didn't turn the water on at the street. So we doing our thing, we rehabbing the house. So we got it in November and it's currently listed right now. So this was like in March. So March, I'm getting finished. Actually, let me back up. All the windows in the house was misfitted. None of the windows were the right size, and none of them were straight. So we had to replace all the windows out the house. To his roof point, new roof was on the house. Yeah, you can't trust new roofs on the house. So they had some hacks do it. So when you went up in the attic, it was just like a little bitty piece of plywood here, like a little bit of, it was like, I don't even know. I had to redo the roof. So same thing, new roof, had to redo it. Long story short, once we got towards the end, this is where the big problem happened. So we finally got the water on because those 90 days are passed, but the flip is done. So I'm at the end, drywall is repaired from us redoing all the HVAC. We turn the water on and the house literally starts raining. Now I got videos of this. When I tell you the house was raining, every water source in the house had a leak. Every one of them. So then we had to break the walls back open, find all of the leaks. We had to have a little camera that goes through and finds but it happened. So we found all the leaks. It was like split PEX. So what happened was, I guess their furnace had got stolen right before he sold it to me. Didn't tell me. He popped one back in, but of course, if you got water running, the PEX split when the furnace was gone. So all of like I say, pretty much every L, everywhere it turned, right where it turned, underneath it was a split. So house was straight raining. It was crazy. So then we think that we fixed it all. We put the staging in there. It's about to go down. Turn on the bathroom shower. I don't know how nobody had turned on the bathroom shower. The diverter starts raining. It does it again with all the furniture in the house. So I had to get this lady money for her staging for the room that it was raining in. It was crazy. But house is on the market now. My advice is, if a flipper is trying to sell you their house, probably do an extra inspection just to make sure that you are buying what you think that you're buying. So that would be my lesson learned, is just, I didn't do due diligence. The numbers made sense. So I'm like, all right, well, this should work at this number. And it did. But we should still make money. That one is a good one. It had a lot of room on it, but we pretty much had to redo all of the work.
So what would you do differently? Because you had to wait, 45 to 90 days for the water to be turned on. Would you go back in time and just wait before doing any of the work?
No, we should have just turned the water on. But yes, in theory, yes, you should have just waited. That's what should have happened. But yeah.
But time is money, right?
Yeah, they should have turned the water on and just ran the water early, and we would have caught that. Mm-hmm. Instead, they just redoing bathrooms. We renovated the house, but nobody ever ran the water. I'm like, how do we get through the whole renovation? Nobody had to use the bathroom. Like, what are we talking about right now? Oh, we just went outside. It's like, come on, man. So that was a tough one to explain. It was like I say, we were so close to listing, and now it's like, oh, the house is raining. Sorry, I need pushback pictures. It's like, so got that twice. So it was rough.
So do you have kind of a checklist that you use now to make sure, okay, let's go run the shower,
Well,
let's flush the toilet?
That should happen. And that was kind of the conversation. It's like, guys, like we can't get all the way to the end and nobody's ran the toilet. Like, what are we, like the bathroom looks beautiful, but nobody's turned the water faucet on. And it's like, y'all knew this. Nobody told me. So it was just like, it was a miscommunication that shouldn't have happened. So I blame it on my management. I should have did better managing.
But it sounds like it's going to work out. Did you say it's under contract?
Yep. House is listed. It's on the market 7 days. So we've been having showings. It's fairly new on the market. But we've been getting a lot of showings. So it should go. It should do well.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. So let's open it up for Q&A. I mean, do we have any questions from the audience? And if we do, please come on up to a microphone and ask. Otherwise, we can keep going with stories if you like. All right, awesome.
Yeah, I got
David. If you got another one.
Well, I don't want to share another story because they get worse and worse. But I want to say, like, the risk though that we take always, like, there's always a risk versus reward, right? And so we're sharing the bad stories, but if it wasn't for the risk that we took on the ones that didn't work out, we wouldn't have had the ones that also did work out. So when you asked me what I would do differently, or if I wouldn't have done it, it's kind of like, well, if I wouldn't have done that one, I probably would have passed on other ones too. So it's got to be a balance. You got to take some risk. Maybe you get lucky. I think you win more than you lose, and then you get smarter as you go along. But if it wasn't for the bad ones, we wouldn't have the good ones either.
Yeah. Well, how do you handle that, like emotionally, and just like, because it costs you money to make these mistakes. But you're right. I mean, there's the balance of the successes that you have too, but there's also that emotional toll. I mean, how do you handle that?
I mean, it kind of thrives the creativity, I think, in me. I'm sure you guys too, that if something goes wrong, it's not like, okay, well, we just got to fix it. It's like, okay, well, now what do we do? There's got to be some avenue that I might not be seeing, or that maybe I didn't see it before. Maybe you rent it. Maybe you sell it, seller finance. Maybe you keep it on a private loan or something. Real estate gives you lots of different options. So it kind of forces the creativity to still figure out a way to make the deal work.
Mm-hmm. So even if things go wrong, it just makes you think, okay, what are the ways I can turn this around and pivot and make it go right?
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah, that's the only way. Like, once you in it. So it's kind of hard to think negatively once you in it. Like, things, like you said, things are gonna arise. You have to just be willing to pivot. Understand that all of them won't go perfect. Some of them go smooth, and it's just like, oh man, that was great.
What's the ratio of ones that go right versus ones that go wrong?
At this point, I'm probably 70-30, good to bad. And again, it's not bad. It's just unforeseen. You certain things you just don't see until you get into it. We had a house. We're doing a house right now. Should be on the market actually next week in Redford, Michigan. But it had these sky windows, or like these skylights, I guess you would call them, 2 of them. Well, they were installed, and first off, they weren't skylights. Let's get that flat out. They were regular windows that somebody put up there to try to make skylights. That was the problem. So they put some regular windows up there and tried to make them skylights. Well, of course, that's not gonna work. So it was a lot of water damage that ran down that side of the house. Now, the side of the house had these beautiful, like, floor to ceiling windows. It was like 5 of them. So again, you got 2 skylights, and then you got these like, the roof line flows down to these windows. It's beautiful. It's like, oh man, this is a great room. But then once we skylights, everything was dry rotted. Everything had to get tore out. You got to replace the windows because of the water damage that they got. So all of that stuff. So again, it's just certain stuff and of course, the water had seeped down the other side. So there was like a bookcase on both sides of the fireplace. So we're like, okay, we're just gonna like touch these up, like we'll take the countertop off, put a new countertop on, paint. Whole wall fell out. Boom, both sides. So it's certain stuff that you just can't avoid. It just happens. But, your job as the person running the project is to rally the troops. All right, guys, it's all right. We'll get it done and continue to move forward, pivot. And, all right, we got to fix it. Fix it and keep moving. And sometimes it comes at the cost of profits, but hopefully you factored in, it sounds like you do very well, contingencies so that if things go wrong, you still can end up in a good place. It's really buying right. If you buy right, stuff can happen and you can still be all right.
Yeah. Well, Brooke, you seem to have like a threshold. Like if you pay a certain amount, no matter what goes wrong, you feel like you're still going to make money because you've paid a certain amount. Is that true? I mean, I kind of gathered that from what you've said.
I really still think it's luck because a lot of houses that I've bought, the ARV has gone up from the time that I know about the house to the time that we actually close on it, renovate, and sell, the neighborhoods go up in value. I guess we're in a growing area. Like I said, about 40 minutes north of here, people are maybe leaving Grand Rapids or like flowing out of Grand Rapids into areas where maybe they can work from home, or they decide to commute to Grand Rapids to buy a house out in the country.
And this is up in Newaygo?
Yes.
Newaygo County area? So let's talk about that a little bit. And by the way, we've got just a couple more minutes, so if you do have any questions, come on up to the microphone. But all of you are investing in what are probably good area, like growing areas. Brooke, you said you listen to Paul Isley, and Paul will be speaking tomorrow afternoon here, so definitely check that out. And so you're getting data as to, okay, are people still moving here?
Right.
So you're keeping an eye on that. David and Ramond, do you guys keep an eye on the economics as well and what's going on, and as far as appreciation, how long a house might be on the market?
Yeah, for me, Metro Detroit is really, all the areas is really good. I mean, anything outside of Detroit is butter. So anything that I can get in the suburbs, that's a layup, It's kind of how I look at it. Numbers are numbers. You just got to do your due diligence up front. That's the main thing. As long as you're running your numbers constantly. And for me, I make sure that I'm at all the meetups. I go to all meetups in my area to make sure that I know all the wholesalers. That's really my strong point, I would say, is I network with the wholesalers. So I try to make sure that whenever they get a deal, they send it to me first. As long as I get first dibs, me and you is good. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I roll. So I would just say having a network of people that are out there every day looking, and then being able to have a team that you can quickly run comps, quickly run numbers, so that you can be efficient on making your offers.
David?
Yeah, we're always fairly conservative on what the ARV is going to be, so there's room for upside and mistakes. And also sometimes something breaks and it ends up adding additional value, so even though you're over budget, the ARV goes up. But yeah, typically we're looking in areas that as long as the ARV makes sense with upside, we'll tackle it.
So I think I'm going to ask a last question, and we'll kind of just start with you, Ramond, and go down. But the three of you have your ear to the ground. I mean, you know what's going on in your areas. And you've seen a lot over the past 5 years. I mean, there's been ups and downs, but you're still seeing growth. And I'm wondering if each of you can just kind of speak to what you anticipate in 2025, and if you have any crystal ball that you're aware of that can help you kind of project out whether that growth is going to continue or a plateau or maybe go backwards. And Ramond, we'll start with you.
Down my way, it's a lot of price drops. So a lot of houses are sitting on market a lot longer. If you in those areas that are in hot demand, where there are still a few areas that if something go on the market, even if it's grandma's house, it's still gonna fly. But for a lot of stuff, if you don't do a good rehab, or there's just the buyers are being a lot pickier. So you got to do quality work. Your stuff stands out. You can kind of see what sits on the market. You're seeing what's price dropping. Colors are affecting stuff as far as paint colors. I'm noticing down my way, like people that's still using gray, like, I'm sorry, my boy, you too out, you old school. So certain stuff.
What are the colors?
I mean, I'm hitting everything white. That's what I've been doing that probably since COVID. But some people still want to try to, create the vision for the buyer. And I don't think that right now the buyer wants the freedom to be able to make choices. And I think if you give them a white box, it allows them to, if they want an accent wall, let them do an accent wall. You know what I'm saying? Like some people down there are trying to overflip, I think, and it's causing, now you're limiting your buyers by trying to do, certain too unique things. And like I say, some people are still using colors that are like rental colors. So it's certain things that I see that you just got to be aware of and be mindful of when you're going into your renovation.
So you're seeing a slowdown.
Yes.
But if you're careful and deliberate about how you're presenting your property, that gives you an edge in getting it sold.
I'm doing way more staging. I stage everything now. I didn't used to have to stage, but again, what's gonna make my pictures look different than his pictures? Again, he right next door. I'm right. So the houses are the same. It's like, all right, so what's different? I got to stage. You know what I'm saying? So it's little stuff like that, but yeah, it's.
Brooke, what are you noticing in your neighborhoods?
I'm still expecting growth. I still hear, I hear from buyers and from end buyers. And I'm still hearing that they're struggling to find houses that fit their family size, or they want to stay in a certain school district still. And so there's still lots of demand where I'm at. Like again, Newaygo County, about 40 minutes north of here. I guess one thing I'd like to mention, I guess I keep attributing things to luck, but I think maybe some of my strategy has been, I save money on the acquisition of these houses because I love buying from wholesalers. There's not many in my area, so I do direct marketing. So whatever a wholesale fee would have been, like if I had to maybe pay $100,000 for a house through a wholesaler, I'm getting it for $70,000 and not paying the $30,000 wholesale fee. I'm doing direct marketing. I mean, we have a billboard. We send out flyers. We send out handwritten letters. I'm using social media. I would love my social media to be personal things. It's all business. I'm doing word of mouth. When I acquire a house, I go knock on all the neighbors' doors, introduce myself, hand them a business card, and say, we're buying in this area. If you know anybody that wants to sell, I'm getting leads that way. So I guess like I'm saving money on the acquisition and then saving money on renovation because, like it's been mentioned, we paint our houses all white as well. We go and paint the whole house white. It's the same paint on the ceiling, trim, floor. It's like a medium gloss, like wall paint. We're just everything with that. We put in the same cabinets. We put in the same pulls, the same doorknobs. It's a higher quality product. I get it discounted by sourcing it from maybe like Lowe's Pro discount or like off Amazon in bulk. So we're cutting down on actually the labor as well because my crew is familiar with the same exact products we're putting in every house. It's trending. It's the same product. They're all familiar with how it works. And then we're saving money on material doing that. And then...
So I got to stop you because we're getting the signal to wrap it up.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And I want to make sure David has the last say here. Thank you, Brooke. But David, what's your take on the market that you're seeing in Lansing?
Yeah, in Lansing, Michigan, we're seeing our inventory grow a little bit. Days on market are growing, but houses are still selling. So we're just kind of planning on that in advance that maybe if we originally thought that, a year ago something would sell in 30 days, maybe plan to have it sit on the market for 30, 60, 90 days. And if the numbers still make sense, holding it a little bit longer, we'll still go for it. And then also, like they were saying, maybe 5 years ago, you could just slap lipstick on something and list it and it would sell. But today you have to make sure that you're fixing the things that are wrong with it. So if you're running numbers and kind of thinking, should we do a roof, should we not? You need to do the roof to make sure that it's going to stand out from your competitors and still be desirable.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you, all three of you. Let's get a big round of applause for our panel.
I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group, and you can find out more about me by going to higinvestor.com. That's higinvestor.com. This episode was sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB & Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com.
You've been listening to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association. You can find out more at rpoaonline.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate,